high achievers, leadership, time traveling with your mind with Melina, generational differences, mindfulness, manifesting, the power of openness with Wendy, and meaningful work, and there's other kind of topics intertwined in there.
Well, yeah.
But like, reflecting on that, I thought, man, we've covered some big, heavy-hitting topics. Welcome to SNO. This week we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Settling's Not an Option. I can't believe how quick time has gone, but it also feels like I've known Amanda forever.
Likewise, absolutely. Yep.
In a good way.
Yeah.
But today we're breaking the show into two parts. Firstly, we'll be reflecting on the last year. So both of us will kind of talk through some of our key reflections. And then each of us are going to take turns with some quick fire questions. So just back and forth, no more than 2 minutes, just so we don't kind of get too lost in our discussion. Yeah. But I'll throw to Amanda now for the formal introduction.
All right. So I'm Amanda Stanhope, and I'm here with my co-host Adam Nebbs. And this show is for anyone out there who feels like they've settled for an unfulfilling life. Whether you've settled for a relationship or for a relationship. Sorry, we're going to just start over.
No, I think you should include that. This is like, we've said since the beginning that we really need to include some bloopers because we laugh a lot.
Okay, we're going for it. We're not starting.
We're going for it.
All right. Here we go. Whether you've settled in a relationship, the work that you do, or how you feel about yourself, we're here to tell you that settling is not an option. If you're liking the show, please follow us on Spotify, Amazon Music, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have any feedback for us or would like to give us any topic suggestions, you can always email us at cheerstonotsettling@gmail.com. Finally, to conclude the plug, you can always jump over to Ko-fi. We're just going to be full of blooper reels today.
Yep.
Coffee and donate as little as $1 to help us keep this thing going. So with all of that being said, I'll turn it back over to Adam to give a summary of kind of our year review here.
Thank you. So a bit of context for everyone. So I reached out to Amanda, I think it was July of last year, and this was after knowing each other for a very short time. Like I think we'd had one meeting on Zoom and we got along really well. It was one of those kind of like catch-ups where we were on the Zoom call for like an hour or something or more.
Yeah, more.
And and it was good fun. We were just like having a good old chat and I was like, man, that was cool. And so I said, hey, do you want to do a podcast? And Amanda, without hesitation, was like, I was thinking of doing a podcast. Yeah, I'm happy to do something like that. So we kind of chatted about it. So the name Settling's Not an Option, that was originated by Amanda. So you went away because we thought about some names.
Yeah.
And it was a good title, I think, because it kind of reflected where both of us were at. We'd like hadn't settled in the jobs we're at or like our lives. We'd gone out and crafted something new. And so it worked really well. But Amanda and I were just talking just before about like how the podcast has manifested into something else where initially it was, Amanda told her story, I told mine. We were going to get a bunch of guests on and they were going to share their stories. And it was all really going to be focused on like individual stories of not settling. But over time, we kind of changed it into something else, which was really about, not settling about your knowledge, looking at different topics, which we'll cover some of those shortly, but really just not settling in those ways of thinking, because that's what's going to hold you back and probably cause you to stay in that life maybe that you're not as happy with. So, but yeah, just to go through a few things. Personally, I just, wanted to thank Amanda because I personally have gone on a very big journey since we started this. Like she's really, as I've said a few times, especially on like the Wendy Nash episode, she's really opened my mind to being open about things. And that's been the key thing for me. That's kind of switched me from being that very kind of still egotistical, arrogant person that kind of walks around and goes, oh, my way of viewing the world is the only way, to I really like hearing people's different points of view, and it's really shaped my character. So a big thanks to Amanda for doing that.
I appreciate it. And I know it's so Yeah, it's noticeable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so
glad
that's
it's
good.
noticeable.
I mean that in a good way. That
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that was a big thing too. I've said to Amanda, like off air, is that, it takes courage really to be somebody that stands up and says, hey, I think the way that you're thinking is, it's not very open, and there's some components there that are holding you back, because usually the reply could be quite bad,
Yeah.
which is, I can't believe you say that, you're being so mean to me, but she had the courage to do that, and that's what shaped me. So
Well, but it wasn't all me. I mean, give yourself credit too, because part of the reason I was able to do that is because I knew you would accept that message.
true.
But some
Yeah,
people wouldn't. They would just get ticked off, and that would be the end of the conversation.
yeah, that's
Where I
very
knew
true.
you would take it for what the intention, or you would know what the true intention of the words were, and you would take them to heart and take them or leave them.
Yeah,
You
true.
don't have to always take what I say either. But,
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. You have to be in the right mindset. So,
right.
no, I agree, definitely. And just a few other kind of reflections, I suppose. So, I just wanted, I haven't really watched back a lot of the episodes because I almost find it a bit cringy to watch myself. And so that's nothing about Amanda. It's like, I just don't want to watch myself,
I watch
But
them all, but
yeah, exactly. So you watch them all. And there's some episodes I like to watch. The later ones I'm really enjoying watching them. And but for me in the beginning, so I don't know anyone who's been watching us since the beginning, I was so obsessed and careful with the words that I said that it kind of limited and probably turned me into a bit of a robot, to be honest, because I was like, oh, what if I say the wrong thing and it doesn't come across as professional? Whereas, I'm not sure when the exact date was that it changed, but now I'm just like, I'm going to speak, I'm going to prepare for the show,
yeah.
and I'm going to speak from the heart, and I'm going to do the best I can, and maybe sometimes like the point will land really well, sometimes maybe it won't, but that's been a nice kind of journey for me too, to kind of move out of that control freak thing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just want to provide some stats now. So I haven't shared these stats with Amanda because I'm excited to see her reaction. Now, I think this first one's correct, but since we've started, I believe we have 33 episodes.
Well, no.
Maybe more?
No, there's less. I guess it depends how you count them, though. I mean,
Yes.
there's 32. The last episode that I published was number 32.
It was 32. Okay.
There's
So
more
this one's
videos than
33.
that because of the breaking them up in
Clips.
stuff. Oh, but
Yeah.
you know what? Ooh, that may not be counting. So we did one that was like almost like a best of, like the featured
Yes.
4 guests in it. Maybe the 32 doesn't count that, so it might be 33 if you include that.
Yep. Okay. And we used to break the clips up quite different. We used to have 3 clips. So poor Amanda had so much editing to do. But
that was just me putting more work on myself than I needed to.
yeah. So I like the new format better. Like a little snippet, a short snippet, and then the full episode. So that's good. But these next, so looking through YouTube and they've got like a little statistics bar kind of on it. So we have had over 11 days worth of viewing time on YouTube across all our episodes.
11 days.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God.
When you think of it that way, isn't it?
It is insane. I'm like, wow.
I've seen the total hours, which I don't remember. But when you hear it in number of days, that really that sounds a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
awesome.
wow. These people sitting there for 11 days listening to us, like,
right.
Oh.
Right.
Those poor people, but we appreciate the support. We've also had 2,640 views of our videos, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
55 subscribers, and we've had 10 different guests on the show. So, like, I'm happy with those stats.
Really awesome.
There's some really cool things behind that.
Yeah.
And I just want to call out a few other things. So Amanda, for her editing. So the editing, I think, it's quite interesting to look from like day dot to now. Like the editing's come a long way. Like it's looking a lot more, snazzy, I suppose, than it did in the beginning.
Well, good. Thank you.
And also just to call out Hitesh Bashani, I think that's his surname, but he created the little character. Yeah, sounds close enough. Everyone knows if they listen to the show that we're not good at pronouncing names, but yeah, he created the caricatures which you'd see in the videos, the little caricatures of us. So thanks to Hitesh for doing that. also just calling out our 10 amazing guests. So I'll just say we had Lydia, Tammy, Gabby, Joanna, Kylie, Melina, Sergio, Alden, Wendy, and Luke. So it was nice towards the end there. You'll see we got some more men in there because for a time it was just the ladies' show, which is fine, you know. But that was really fun.
Yeah,
but some of the things we talked about, you know, we started, as I said, with our own personal stories, and then we covered a lot of topics like ego. One of the things I really like talking about from Lydia's episode, which I encourage you to go back and listen to, was following your gut tug, because that was really relevant to where both of us were. We talked about wellness, quantum mechanics, and consciousness with Gabby. We had a few episodes on Carl Jung's archetypes, which was really enjoyable for us. Relationships in general. So we were just talking then about how influential that's been on our lives and outsets. High achievers, leadership, time traveling with your mind with Melina, generational differences, mindfulness, manifesting, the power of openness with Wendy, and meaningful work, you know, and there's other kind of topics intertwined in there.
Well, yeah.
But like reflecting on that, I thought, man, we've covered some big, heavy-hitting topics.
We really have. I know.
Yeah.
Because I think we often expect more of ourselves somehow, but it's nice to reflect, and it's a good lesson for everybody. You know, you know, give yourself some credit and reflect on all the things that you've achieved, because probably a lot more things than you think you have.
I think so. So those are my reflections. So I talked a lot there, but I'm keen to get your thoughts.
Well, as I was thinking about recording the show today, and I was kind of reflecting back, and then like the only word that keeps coming to my mind is it's just been such a roller coaster.
Yes.
Like that's the word. And there's so many things that have gone on behind the scenes that people don't know about. You know, like we've had 2 episodes in total, I think, 2 that we recorded and did not ever see the light of day for different reasons.
Yeah.
And we've had problems with guests that we've had to deal with behind the scenes. Yes. We've had problems with each other. We've had some showbiz spats that we've had to deal with behind the scenes, and all these things, you know, that never see the light of day, but really shape the whole experience for me. I mean, and I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person anyways. Like Adam said, I'm the one who does the editing and kind of that behind the scenes stuff, where he's the one who goes out and finds the guests and schedules the guests and communicates with people, because I don't really want to have to communicate with people if I don't have to. And so, you know, we balance each other out really well that way. But, you know, so for me, kind of liking to be in the background, you know, that's been probably the most rewarding part for me, has been what's happened behind the scenes. So that's been interesting. Although I would say too, it's been fun to see how we both changed, because I've noticed the change in you more than I've noticed it in myself. You know,
always the way, isn't it?
But I do notice that just the whole experience of speaking in front of a camera consistently changes your whole life. It really does.
It does.
I mean, it's such a good, because I've said it before, but I used to be terrified of being in front of a camera, but it just gives you so much confidence in other areas of your life too. So for other people out there who are afraid of being in front of a camera, don't settle for that. Challenge yourself to do it, because it's such a great experience. And so those were just like some of the things that were going through my mind. But I guess too, like probably, so we'll get to the sappy part. You know, the biggest thing is like, because we always talk about how we're trying to figure out what we want to do with the show and what we're expecting to get out of it or whatever. And neither one of us ever seem to know really what we want to do, other than we want to keep doing it. And for me, so that's, I think, what's created such a great relationship between us, and that we're on the same page as that goes. And so that's what the other huge thing I've gotten out of this is that I've gotten you out of this, you know, and I mean, you're a very special person in my life, because you're really the only person I've ever had that I can actually talk to about the stuff that I like to talk about. Because nobody else wants to talk about consciousness and traveling with your mind and all this other stuff that we've been talking about in Jung's archetypes and
Yeah. Yeah.
and
It's
that's what
true.
nobody does, but nobody in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's just huge because that's just a huge relief to actually have someone else to talk to about that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that.
I like it. That was some good sap. Well done. I feel the same, of course.
All right, so I think that's enough sap for me. So should we get into the questions?
Let's jump into the questions. Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, so my first question for Adam is, I should get the timer ready too, just so we.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're kind of just doing this to tease each other too, so that we make sure that we cut each other off at 2 minutes.
Yep. We've got 2 minutes, no more.
Yes. So the first question is, have you overcome any challenges lately, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, good question. So, well, I've talked to Amanda about this already, but last week I was really struggling. Like I was feeling really off, but it was weird for me because everything in my life right now, touch wood, is going really well. Like I'm feeling really fulfilled in my, my studies, my relationships. So every facet of my life, I'm feeling really fulfilled, which is nice. Like I'd have to say this is probably one of the pinnacle points in my life where I'm feeling really balanced in each area.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was feeling really low last week. I was like, I just don't know what the go is. And, there was like a defining moment for me last week before the podcast, actually, where I was like, I don't know if I can get out of bed today. Like I'm feeling so low. Maybe I just stay in bed, like cancel the episode. But I decided, no, push on. You can do this. And then I started to change a few things, like, going to the gym. I haven't been to the gym in years. Yeah. And I think really for me, it just made me realize, despite the fact that I've been doing all my mindfulness practices really well and breathing and all the things I know I need to do to keep myself spiritually well, there is that chemical component that you can't move away from. You need to balance out those chemicals in your brain, which is done through eating well and drinking water and exercising. So that was a good wake-up call for me, which was like, I can't forget the chemical. And this week I felt like $1 million. Like I've gone to the gym 4 times and I'm just feeling really good. So yeah, that was a nice challenge to overcome, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So my first question is quite a big different one. I now feel like I should have, had better questions, but all right. So I know that Amanda's a big fan of Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
But not including Alice in Chains, who is your favorite musical act and why?
God, it's hard to pick one. Do I have to pick one?
You can pick a few. You can, yeah. I just, as I was writing, I was like, well, this is a mean question because I was like,
no. I guess, okay, so the first ones that would come to mind are, well, one of the first ones that comes to mind is Korn, which is kind of maybe a far cry from Alice in Chains, although I just saw them. They toured together last year or 2 years ago.
I wondered, so you've been to the concert? Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
But, they actually toured together 2 years ago, but they were, back in the day, they were 2 of my favorite bands. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, there's so many. I'm trying to pick. So I just want to name off like 1 million because there's so many. The one that's really been with me lately is Chevelle.
Oh, Chevelle's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up, obviously, with Alice in Chains. So you're talking about all the grunge scene. So you got Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Queensryche, Candlebox, all these groups that kind of came out. I was never really a big Nirvana fan. But of course, all of those, I love all of those because that was just my time because I was in high school during that time. So, of course, all of those, 9 Inch Nails. But I've only really, Chevelle's been around forever. They've been around just as long, actually. They've been around since the early 90s, but I only learned about them probably in the past 10 years. And even then, I didn't really start getting into them that much until maybe past 5 years, I would say, and I'm almost out of time. But they, they are just amazing. So they're like my favorite at the moment.
You've got, I keep saying it, behind the scenes. Like, I really need to get your playlists because you've got some great music in there. Like,
No.
so yeah. No, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
All right, I almost ran out of time, but I was close. All right, so next question for Adam is, what's one thing you've decided to not settle for this year?
Yeah, so the big thing would be this like societal view of how you should live, how you should get a job and get lots of money. You should have a great title. You should buy a house. You should have all these nice fancy things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really hard to fight against because I feel like it's a really strong current that's like, that people, in interactions be like, what do you do? I'm a PhD student. Oh, okay. What else do you do?
Yeah.
And that, they kind of look at you like, oh, so you're not doing anything else? Oh, yeah. Okay. And, right. There's been like job opportunities presented to me, which could have provided me those things or whatever it may be. But for me, I'm like, no, like, I'm not going to get caught in that trap. I've been down that road. And just because it's the end thing, I'm like, well, if I look at what people are saying versus what people are doing, people look quite miserable that are telling me you need to live a certain way. I'm like, yeah, but you're stressed out of your mind. You're working long hours. You've got a mortgage. Like, you feel trapped. Yet you're telling me that even though I'm not feeling any of those things, I'm feeling liberated and free and happy. It's like that I should live like you. I'm like, no. So that's one thing I've chosen not to settle for. And it's not always easy, especially because your ego will be in the back of your head saying, you need certain things to be happy. And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm happy already. So it's just kind of, really being aware of, the ego's always going to be there and it's reinforced by societal expectations. But that doesn't mean that you should give in to those things. It takes a stronger character, I feel, to be able to say, no, I'm happy as I am and I will just continue as I am, So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Next
right
question
now
for you.
I'm like, oh gosh, what now? What's it going to be?
Well, this is a tricky question, but yeah, I know you'll know the answer because I've watched some of the other videos you've done. What has been your greatest learning in this past year?
Oh, in the past year?
Yeah.
Definitely, that's an easy one, but is to give myself space. And what I mean by, and I learned that from a good friend of mine, Olivia Da Silva. So I didn't actually learn that on the show, although it's been reinforced on the show by some of the things that we talked about. But just really giving myself space to slow down. And I've really been focusing on that this week, especially. But space to slow down, space to think, space to enjoy the moment instead of trying to just get to the next moment or trying just to get things done. Like being so, because I am very much, that's how I'm wired, is I love being efficient. I love checking things off lists. and I just love like processes. Like that's kind of how my brain works. So all of those things they tend to make you become very stressed though, because that doesn't leave much space. It doesn't leave a lot of space for creativity, and it doesn't leave space for happiness even. Or even space just to enjoy other people's company. So there's just so many spaces that you can open up. But so that's been the biggest thing, or the thing that stuck with me the most from anything I've heard in the past year. And the thing that I come back to almost daily is like to remind myself of that in different ways. And I've heard, like I said, we've talked about similar things, and I've heard other people say it in different ways too. And you could say it's about being mindful, being conscious, being present, but I like it to keep it simple and just say to give myself space.
Yeah, I like it. Good answer. Good learning.
All right. Oh yeah, I'm next. Okay. So, all right. So this is a fun one. Okay.
Okay.
So if anybody's watched the show or listened to the show, they know that I am very illiterate when it comes to movies. If illiterate's the right word, and so my question, but Adam is not. Adam's the movie guy. So if you could pick one movie that I really need to see, or that I really need to watch, what would it be and why?
Oh, now that's tricky. This is like the musical question. I
Yeah,
find
that's
almost
kind
a
of like a
serious one.
musical question. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure to where even begin, to be honest. Like, I don't know. There's some movies that I'm not sure, how much you'd like this one, but like probably the movie that I have loved the most, probably, yeah, and my favorite movie of all time is a movie called Midnight in Paris
Oh, you
by
told
Woody
me
Allen.
about that, but I never did
Yes.
watch it.
And it's just a beautiful, beautiful movie.
I'm gonna write that
It's,
down actually.
yeah, and I'd be curious to know what you think about it because it's just, it's shot in Paris. It's got Owen Wilson in it, and I think Owen Wilson is just acting superbly. Like I'm a big fan of Owen Wilson, but just the whole theme of the movie is really beautiful, and the acting throughout, such a good cast. But yeah, I think that would be a really wonderful movie to watch. And probably another movie, if I pick another one in there, is
You
there's
got
a movie
time,
called
so
Bright Star, which
Bright
is,
Star?
yeah, Bright Star, and it's got Abby Cornish in it and Ben Whishaw. I think his name's Ben Whishaw, and it's about the life of John Keats.
Okay.
And I love John Keats. He'd be easily my favorite poet of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a very sad movie. So,
You
Midnight in
always
Paris,
pick these sad movies when
I
you're
just
picking.
love sad movies. I don't know why, But yeah, it's very sad. But it's like, again, it's a beautiful love story, beautiful kind of, this is showing my sappy side. Like,
Yeah.
there's other movies I could tell you, like, horror movies or whatever that I like. But I was like, these are two movies that I loved. And I'd be curious to get your thoughts because they are very
I guess that's
nice
a challenge
movies.
then. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
I thought
It's
you were
not
gonna
like
say
American Psycho, one of, Amanda's and my favorite movies. I'd have to say American Psycho, hands down. Love that movie. So, very different tastes in
very
that.
different. I know. I thought you were gonna say like The Matrix or Star Wars or something.
Yeah,
I
which
haven't watched
did.
any of these movies.
Yeah, see, I love that's a good point too, because, not that I'll keep going because I'm over time. But yeah, there's so many movies that I'm like, oh, have you seen this one, Amanda? No. I'm like,
well, that's it, because every time, that's why I asked the question, because every time we're talking about movies, I'm like, no.
yeah,
no.
there's heaps. I'm gonna have to write you a list. So you should send me the music. Okay. I'll send you the movies.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a deal. All right.
Now I'm excited for this next question. So, if you could have a beer with one celebrity, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Only one?
Only one. You can talk about a couple, but
well, no, I know. Well, of course, I'm going to have to pick Abraham Maslow.
Yep, definitely.
And of course, there's a lot of very close seconds, but I just love him because, well, everybody knows, or not everybody, a lot of people know about his hierarchy of needs that he created. That's kind of what he was famous for. But the way he came about that is he focused on the good qualities of people. And he was trying to find out how to bring the good out of people and what brought the good out of people. Instead of, at the time, a lot of his contemporaries were focused on neuroses and trying to find out what was wrong with people and treat symptoms. He wasn't trying, and I don't know that he never tried to treat symptoms, but he was not focused on treating symptoms. He was just focused on bringing out the best in people. And I love that, because I really do believe that, with very few exceptions, everybody is good, or everybody starts out good. Now, there's always a few exceptions, like true psychopaths and stuff. There's a few exceptions out there, but most people are good and they want to be good. But for whatever reason, they don't feel like they're able to be. And so, anyways, that's why I love him. Plus, he's just so cute. Like, Adam had never seen a picture of him, so we looked at a picture one day, and he looks like Mario from Super Mario Brothers. He just is little cute. He just looks so happy, and
yeah,
I just love that guy. So,
well, that would be a fun beer, I reckon. You'd have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. So that's who I would pick number one.
Yep. I like it. Good choice. Very, very aligned as well to what you're about.
Yes.
No, that's good. All right, last couple of questions each.
Yeah. I keep forgetting after I answer that I have to ask one. Okay. All right. So Where do you see the show a year from now?
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Well, Amanda and I were talking before about like what year 2 will look like. And I feel like, we'll do what we normally do, where we'll go back to the drawing board and look over things. I see more exciting guests. Like, I feel like we've really got a good understanding of what we want in our guests and what value we want them to bring. And so, we'll just be certainly, I've got a few good names on the list that I'm excited to kind of approach and have on the show. And I think really it'll be just kind of, we were talking about how we need to balance, having a bit of a brain rest, from listening to heavy podcasts and stuff, but also having that because it's so good for nourishing our, intellectual soul, whatever. So, I think that'll be the thing moving forward is how we can better balance the podcasts that we listen to or the content, YouTube videos and stuff, how we can balance that better to kind of, craft interesting shows, because there's been some shows that I probably prefer more than others where I've really enjoyed the back and forth. Whereas other ones that have been a bit trickier, because usually because we kind of take ourselves too seriously. Yeah. So that's another thing I think. It'll be good guests, probably getting a better balance with the content we consume to talk, to build the episodes, but also simpler episodes, because we're trying to keep that, KISS mentality, keep it simple, stupid, and just really focus on, simple content that you can enjoy as opposed to this really heavy stuff where we feel like we need to research the origins of a topic, which is very, very exhausting. So that's what I think moving forward. Yeah. Hopefully it'll look like. Yeah.
Sounds good to me. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. All right. Last question for me. And this is a tricky question. One? Yeah, this is my last one. Okay. Do we have 5 each?
Yeah, I have one more. I thought I would. Whatever. Okay.
Yep. Okay. I can probably come up with another one. This one's a bit mean, and my girlfriend Nat actually was like, "Oh, like you shouldn't do that," but whatever. I'll throw the question out there. Well, it was, what is your favorite episode and why? Now, the main reason Nat thought it was unfair is that if there was a guest or something, but anyways, it's just your personal opinion.
Okay, so I got to think about it a second, but I do know. Gosh, I know what it is, and I just can't bring it to my mind. Let's see here. So there was one episode. Gosh, and I'm not going to think of it, but I'll tell you why it was my favorite. So my favorite episodes are the ones where, like you were talking about, like we aren't overthinking things, and we're pretty much just going off the cuff. Because I think we both actually do a lot better, and we probably don't give ourselves enough credit for being able to do it. We both are better on the fly and just keeping it loose and talking about things because we're interested in them, not because it's some script that we prepared ahead of time. And not that we ever come into it completely unprepared, but like there's a difference between being overly prepared, and we've been there, we've both done that, where we're overly prepared and then you're second guessing everything you say. Versus just having a conversation, which is what we wanted to do all the way from the beginning. That's all we wanted to do, is sit and have a good conversation.
Yeah.
And hope that somebody else gets something out of it, because if we're going to sit here and toss ideas around, well, we might as well share it with other people in the hopes that maybe they could get something out of it too. And so those are my favorite episodes. Now, I could think of one, and I know that there is one because I remember when we got done recording it, I told you and we talked about it, and I was like, that was definitely my favorite one. No, I don't remember what it was.
It's tricky,
what the topic was, but I guess that's the point. It doesn't matter what the topic is.
Yeah.
It was more because it was it had nothing to do with the topic. It really didn't. It had to do with the interaction and just the free flow of thoughts. That's what it's about. Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's what I want year 2 to be like, is just episode after episode is just that.
Right.
Not getting too caught up in the serious. Because I don't know, it's one of those funny things as a podcaster, you start to feel like you need to be a certain way and be like, because you see these
that's
other like,
ego thing.
Yeah, and it's like, no, well, we didn't create the podcast for that purpose. We're betraying almost why we started. So yeah, I like
That's what it takes to be mindful, because that's what we're surrounded by all the time. Is people telling us that that's what we should do, or we just see other people doing something, and then you're like, oh, that would be cool. We should do that. And it's so easy to get away from, what intentions were. But 100%. I do have one last question for you, and this is a good one, and it sounds really serious, but it's actually funny, and you'll know why.
Okay. All right.
What is the meaning of life? And you have to explain why that's funny. Or why
it's funny, because I mean, I asked two or three guests that question, didn't I?
You asked me that the first time we talked.
Oh, that's right. I asked a lot.
Well, maybe not directly that question, but something along those lines. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've asked some difficult questions to people, and that's been fun as well. I like when I ask a guest and like, whoa, man, how do I answer that? But yeah, I don't know. I think from the collective wisdom of all of the people that I've asked this question to, and things I've listened to, I think it's all about really just living in the now and understanding how much of this life is constructed by our brains or our virtual reality headset, which is an episode we talked about. And if that's the case, we really need to understand that things like past and anticipations about the future don't exist. They are so fluid and flexible and can change. We've talked about things in the past like mourning your future memories, which COVID has forced us to do. We've considered how, our memories don't allow us to really fully, like past is constantly changing because our memories don't allow us to, experience that as anything other than a past memory. So in light of that, it's like, just let everything, the meaning of life is just to experience in the now and constantly, no matter what the experience is, whether you want to label it good or bad, just live in that experience and understand that is the only living that we have. There is nothing else. And in doing that, I'm sure you'll be a lot happier because I think we have been. So
yes, when we manage to do it, yes.
Yeah. When we manage to do it, because there's so many obstacles that get in the way. So, I think that's the meaning of life. Hopefully that's a good...
Yes, I like it. But I had to ask that question just to tease you because you always ask everybody that.
I do.
I know. One time you told me you were at the pub or something and meeting somebody for the first time and you asked them that, and I'm just like, yeah, that's such an Adam thing.
Yeah, I met one of my girlfriend's friends and we got along really well. And I got to a point in the night, a few drinks, I was like, so man, what is the meaning of life? And he's like, what?
He's like, dude, really?
It's like, oh man, that's too intense. So did you ask me 6 questions? Because I do have another question. Was it 5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right.
I guess, so I don't know, for some reason I was thinking you would be last because I went first, right?
Yeah,
I don't know what happened. But it doesn't matter.
I don't know what happened. This is what happens.
Winging it. See, these are my favorite episodes where we just wing it, so it doesn't matter.
We just run through it. We started off with some great bloopers.
And we got freeze frame going on over here and whatever. This is our 2-year celebration, or 2-year 1 celebration.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is how you want a celebration to be. Yeah. Just 2 people being goofy, and having a lot of fun. So,
Oh my gosh. My brain just isn't working. But all right, so should we wrap it, give our formal wrap up here?
We should do the formal wrap up, yep.
Okay. So if you made it this far, we really appreciate it. We really appreciate you being here for the whole year. If you've been here for the full year, if you've been here this is your 2nd episode, 1st episode, whatever. We appreciate it. And we really do want to hear from you. So go ahead and email us at cheerstoNotSettling@gmail.com. You can get a hold of us on LinkedIn. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Amazon Music, Spotify. Those are all the places you can find us. You can help us keep the show going by donating as little as $1 to us on Coffee, and that will help us we're looking to get some new equipment. Maybe that would be our goal for this year. We'll finally get some real microphones. Yes.
I think we need to bite the bullet and
Yes.
invest in decent stuff. But you know,
we're getting there. So
yeah, we're
all
getting
right,
there.
so with all that being said, we would just say cheers to not settling.
It's not settling. Bye.
Take care.